Contradictions are a key part of human nature. Violet learns that in this awkward yet beautiful episode of Violet Evergarden. French-styled European settings and eating food with chopsticks. It's a total contradiction, and that is the name of the game in this episode of Violet Evergarden. Another picturesque, beautiful episode which is rich with some amazing detail. Not to mention, this episode also gives us a little more insight into the actual origins of Violet, as well as introducing a ton of new characters that we can all get attached to. So let's just go ahead and squeal and fangirl over that one moment from the beginning of the episode where apparently we get to learn that Gilbert came upon Violet because his creepy, villainous older brother actually presented her to him as a gift, only to be used as a weapon. This is the first time that we've actually seen that in this series. And also, how about the last name of Gilbert? The Bourgainvillia family? That seems a little really ridiculous, right now. What I will say is, I really love this scene right here, as you can almost sort of see that Gilbert's brother might actually end up being something of an antagonistic force in the series if he does manage to return. I don't know what it is about this guy, but he just comes across as very creepy, whereas Gilbert comes across as shocked and horrified when he sees this young girl. And unfortunately, that's all of the flashbacks we really get from Violet in this episode. The rest is pretty much dedicated to being introduced to the other auto memory dolls, the leader Catalia, who is a super bombastic and super confident woman, which is easily the most popular of the group. We have the hot-headed Iris, who's kind of a rookie on the team, and she doesn't really get to do too much in this episode, aside from just being slightly incendiary with Violet. However, the doll who gets the most screen time in this episode is Erica, who's basically Japanese Velma from Scooby-Doo, except that she's very much like Violet in many senses. She doesn't have a lot of confidence, and she can be kind of socially awkward. This, combined with Iris's brash personality, leads me to believe that these two characters are going to be key in actually transforming Violet into a cold, calculating machine and into something of a cheery, blonde female. We'll have to see how that's all going to go down. Basically, it's using the tried and true lyric from the Pokemon anime series, "You teach me, and I'll teach you." But this episode right here is, like I said, more of just a straight introduction to all of these characters and getting to see how Violet fits into this world, and basically, it's a fish-out-of-water story. She's incredibly awkward, she doesn't quite know how to handle herself, but she's amazing at what she can do in terms of actually being a typist. In fact, I think one of my favorite scenes from this episode is when she's deciding to do it for the very first time. She takes off her gloves, revealing her adamant silver hands to everyone, and she starts to type. And then she makes an adjustment, like something out of freaking Full Metal Alchemist. She actually makes an adjustment on her elbow, which is incredibly detailed, by the way, which allows her to move her fingers much more freely, allowing her to type like a freaking robot in an incredibly fast and very loud pace. So she can type, but how can she write? This is where the first roadblock for her character comes in, as a couple of customers come in and they want some letters, and the thing about Violet is that she's so blunt about everything. She almost comes across as very rude, but really that's just her personality. She's just a very systematic person who's been brought up in a military setting and honestly doesn't know what it means to basically just normally communicate with people, and that's where a lot of the humor and the drama comes from in this episode. One scene in particular where this one woman comes in who wants to write a letter to this big hotshot automobile tycoon, and basically she wants to take this guy for a ride. She wants to get a lot of money and stuff out of him, some prizes, so to speak. But she wants these dolls to sort of dress up the letter, making it seem like that's not actually the case, and it's going to try and make her look like a much stronger woman in the process. The problem is Violet sees right through this woman, and she actually ends up writing the letter, which for some odd reason did not get proofread. She ends up sending it to this guy, and basically learning that this woman is essentially being something of a gold digger, trying to get a little more bang for her buck, and she gets really mad, and that's when Catalia has to take Violet away and have a conversation with her, asking her why she did this. And really, Violet's only response is she did exactly what she was supposed to. She took her words and put them on paper. She just didn't dress it up enough because she doesn't really know how that works. That's when Catalia actually explains to her that it is human nature to sort of take some leeway with what people say. Dress it up a little bit. It is a bit of a contradiction because you're not supposed to be lying, but in a sense you are lying. it's a part of what it means to be human, basically to give confirmation to one's existence, so to speak. It's pretty heavy material, but honestly I love it for the final scene of the episode, where we get to see that there's a little bit of tension between Erica and Violet, and Erica does not want her to be a doll. She doesn't want her to be in the group anymore. She thinks she's unqualified for it. But by the end of the episode, she's defending her, and when Violet realizes that this is actually a contradiction, you can see that finally, she's little by little starting to be able to understand human emotions and what's special about them. This type of story has been done before, but it's done with such beautiful style in the show that honestly I find myself not being able to look away. It's done with characters that I find myself genuinely caring about, and the fact that we're only 2 episodes in, that's a pretty big accomplishment. Chalk it up to the very good character design, or maybe even just the little funny moments of seeing the characters and their individual personality quirks around the office. There was a great scene in this episode where Benedict was trying to eat lunch with some girls, but he keeps getting denied until this big old Santa Claus man comes over to him to appease him, and how does he respond? Not in the typical anime sense, where he gets really mad, grows a giant head, and has a massive bead of sweat on his face. No, he actually starts to cry and is happy just to have someone acknowledge his own existence. It's little things like this that make this a great episode. That and, of course, the fantastic cliffhanger ending, which I'm guessing we're still not going to get a proper opening or intro for or ending for the show quite yet. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. But basically, it's Catalia and Hodgins who are hanging out in this bar, and Claudia, as his name is, he actually got the brooch that belonged to Violet. He found it on the black market and spent all of his money on it, and he's not going to have any money for an entire month. Shows really how much he does actually care about this girl and wants to take care of her. And as they're in the bar with Catalia, she's asking, what's the deal with this Gilbert guy? What's so special about him? And Hodgins just mentions that he was a good friend from his academy days and that he's never coming back. Is he dead? Is he somewhere that he can never return from? What's the deal with Gilbert, and why are they keeping it so mysterious? I have a feeling that type of information is probably going to trickle throughout the entire series as we go through Violet's entire experience about what it means to be a human. All I know is I'm along for the ride, because this show is definitely built upon its fantastic characters, its really sharp writing, and most importantly, just how freaking great it looks. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Violet Evergarden? Another show that confounds me because I never watched this type of material at all. If this were any other anime franchise, I'd probably be bored, but luckily this is in good hands and they've been backing it up with some amazing animation, which is what I think is my favorite thing about the entire series. It's just really beautiful to look at. The character designs are very good. They're incredibly expressive. That's one of my favorite things. I love the look of the eyes. Every single time they do like a close-up of the eyes, the way they sparkle and everything. And I love the lighting in this series, how they use it to effect. They use it in so many great ways. The scene where Violet is talking with Erica and they're outside during the rain and she's saying that she shouldn't be a doll, but then Violet declares that she's not going to stop there and everything, and while that conversation is coming to an end, you get to see that the rain is stopping, the sun comes in, covering both of their faces as if to say, this was meant to be. It's a beautiful scene. I also just love the little things, the details of this series. Like I said, the scene where she's adjusting her arm, you can see all of the individual cogs and pieces moving when she's actually making that adjustment. The actual movement of her hands, seeing the light actually go between each finger as she's moving it, there is some detail there that they are really working hard to do that in other series, they don't even give a crap about. I love that the animators legitimately care in this show. The scene where she's at the end holding the brooch in her dark room with just a little bit of sun peering in, any bit of sun that pops off of that brooch creates all of these reflections on the wall, and they all move in tandem with her movement in perfect fashion. Just, the details of this show are beautiful. I really wish a lot of other anime production companies would actually give a crap like this one right here. I'm not sure how much of a budget this show has or if they're even working with much, but whatever they're doing, keep it up because it's a great looking show. It's Violet Evergarden. It's like this weird combination of Miyazaki films and Full Metal Alchemist. Just all of the emotional stuff. just wrapped into one. And that's why I believe that Violet Evergarden is going to go down as an anime classic. And this was another gorgeous and beautiful episode. I'm hoping that we will get to eventually see an opening or an ending, but honestly, even if they just continue to do what they do, no complaints. The series is great, and it's chock full of some really great characters and some storytelling and beautiful artwork. 5 out of 5 from me. Check it out, guys. If any of you did watch this episode of Violet Evergarden, make sure to tell me your thoughts about it in the comments section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of the series. Did you have any favorite scenes from this episode? Any theories as to what the shady past of Gilbert, his brother, and Violet is all about? Basically, just tell me everything liking or not liking about the show and what you hope to see from the future. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and as always, stay down there, baby.